This is the USA Emergency Broadcast Network, your source for reliable disaster preparedness information.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this station, its management, sponsors, or other hosts. If you have any comments or suggestions about this program, please contact us at radio@usaebn.org. That's radio@usaebn.org.
Unter anderem revolutionär.
Ihr habt besseren Verkehr. Offen, ob der Ausschuss das
Diesmal allerdings besonders.
Welcome, my precious children, to your Aunt Betty's attic. Look around and ask questions. For in this space is all my tricks and remedies that my parents taught me. I was brought up on a farm, and if we needed something, we didn't have money, so we built it. I want to share some of that knowledge with you. I was taught by people who suffered through the Great Depression. They knew how to survive. They knew how to mend wounds, and they knew what herbs did what. Plus, I want to talk about some of the new ideas out there. There is only one requirement. If you learn anything from this attic, you must teach others. Please promise your dear old Aunt Betty this. Welcome, my precious children, to Aunt Betty's attic. Pull up a chair, and let's have ourselves a good old-fashioned talk. Today, we're diving into something that's near and dear to my heart, and probably to your wallet too, DIY cleaning products that actually work. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, Betty, why bother when the store shelves are full of cleaners? Let me tell you something, those shelves are full of chemicals, marketing gimmicks, and price tags that'll make your head spin. And half the time, those fancy bottles don't clean any better than what you can whip up in your own kitchen. Why does this matter? 3 reasons, my children: health, money, and sustainability. Health. Do you know what's in that neon blue liquid you spray on your counters? Most folks don't. Words you can't pronounce, fumes that make your eyes water, and residues that linger long after you've wiped them away. If you've got little ones crawling on the floor or pets licking surfaces, that's a problem. Making your own cleaners means you control what goes in them. Simple, safe ingredients like vinegar, baking soda, and a little elbow grease. Let me paint you a picture. You're cleaning your kitchen with a store-bought spray. It smells fresh, but that scent is synthetic. It's made from chemicals designed to trick your nose into thinking clean equals perfume. Meanwhile, those chemicals settle on your counters, your dishes, and eventually your food. Now imagine your toddler picking up a cracker from that same counter. Do you really want them eating a side of ammonia with their snack? I didn't think so. Money. Oh, don't get me started on the cost of store-bought cleaners. You're paying for water, plastic, and a fancy label. A gallon of white vinegar costs a couple of bucks and can replace half the products under your sink. Baking soda? Pennies. Lemon juice? You can squeeze that right from the fruit bowl. These aren't just cleaners, they're budget savers. Let's break it down. A bottle of all-purpose cleaner costs about $4 for 32 ounces. A DIY version? Less than 50 cents. Multiply that across glass cleaner, bathroom scrub, and floor cleaner, and you're saving hundreds of dollars a year. That's money you can put toward groceries, bills, or even a little treat for yourself. Sustainability. Every time you buy a plastic bottle, you're adding to the mountain of waste this world is drowning in. When you make your own, you reuse containers, cut down on packaging, and reduce your chemical footprint. It's good for the planet, and it's good for your conscience. Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down. And those chemicals? They don't just disappear. They wash down the drain, into rivers, and eventually into the ocean. Fish absorb them. Birds ingest them. And guess what? It all comes back to us. DIY cleaning isn't just a trend, it's a responsibility. Now, let me tell you a little story. Back when I was a girl, yes, during the tail end of the Great Depression, my mama didn't have the luxury of running to the store for a bottle of cleaner. We had what we had, and we made it work. Vinegar was our best friend. It cleaned windows, floors, and even freshened up laundry. Baking soda? That was the miracle powder. Mama used it for scrubbing pots, deodorizing the icebox, and even brushing her teeth. We didn't call it DIY back then, we called it survival. And you know what? It worked. Fast forward to today, and here we are, rediscovering what our grandparents knew all along: simple is better. You don't need a chemistry degree or a shopping cart full of products to keep your home clean. You need knowledge, a few basic ingredients, and the willingness to try. Deep dive, the hidden truth about commercial cleaners. Let's talk about what's really in those bottles. Many commercial cleaners contain ammonia, great for glass, terrible for lungs. Chlorine bleach, effective, but dangerous when mixed with other chemicals. Synthetic fragrances, linked to allergies and respiratory issues. Preservatives and stabilizers, extend shelf life, but at what cost? These chemicals don't just vanish after you wipe them away. They linger on surfaces, seep into fabrics, and release fumes into the air. Studies show that regular exposure can lead to headaches, asthma, and even long-term health problems. The psychology of clean. Here's something interesting. Marketers have convinced us that clean has a smell. Lemon, lavender, ocean breeze. None of these scents mean clean. They mean chemicals. Real clean has no smell. When you use vinegar and baking soda, your home smells like nothing. And that's a good thing. Empowerment through knowledge. Children, here's the truth. Making your own cleaners isn't hard. It's not time-consuming. And it doesn't require special skills. It's about taking control of your health, your budget, and your environment. It's about saying, I can do this myself. Practical tips to get started. Start with one recipe. Don't overwhelm yourself. Reuse old spray bottles or invest in glass ones. Label everything clearly. Keep ingredients on hand: vinegar, baking soda, lemon juice, essential oils. Closing thoughts. So, in this first segment, we're laying the foundation. We're talking about why DIY cleaning matters, not just for your home, but for your health, your wallet, and this beautiful planet we share. In the next segment, we'll roll up our sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty, recipes that work, the science behind them, and tips to make cleaning less of a chore and more of a joy. But before we move on, I want you to promise me something. If you learn anything today, anything at all, you'll teach someone else. That's how we keep these traditions alive. That's how we build a community that cares. So, promise Aunt Betty, will you? Good. Now, let's get ready for segment 2, where the real fun begins. Recipes that work and the science behind them. Well now, children, you've promised Aunt Betty you'd teach someone what you learn, so let's roll up our sleeves and get to the good stuff. Today, we're talking recipes, real, honest-to-goodness cleaning solutions you can make at home. No gimmicks, no fancy labels, just simple ingredients that work as hard as you do. The all-purpose cleaner. Let's start with the queen of DIY cleaners, the all-purpose spray. This little beauty will tackle countertops, sinks, and even those sticky spots on the fridge door. Here's what you need. 2 cups of water. 1 cup of white vinegar. 1 tablespoon of baking soda. A few drops of essential oil, optional, for scent. Lavender or lemon works wonders. Now, listen closely. Pour the water and vinegar into a spray bottle. Add the baking soda slowly. Don't dump it in like you're feeding chickens. or you'll have a volcano on your hands. Once it settles, add your essential oil if you like. Shake gently, and there you have it, a cleaner that cuts through grease, disinfects surfaces, and leaves your kitchen smelling fresh. Why does it work? Vinegar is acidic, which means it breaks down grime and kills bacteria. Baking soda is a mild abrasive and deodorizer. Together, they're a powerhouse. And that essential oil? Just a little luxury for your nose. Glass and mirror cleaner. Next up, something for those streaky windows and mirrors. Forget the blue stuff in the store. Here's Aunt Betty's recipe. 2 cups of water. Half a cup of white vinegar. A quarter cup of rubbing alcohol. A few drops of lemon essential oil, optional. Mix it all in a spray bottle. Spray on glass. Wipe with a lint-free cloth or newspaper. Yes, newspaper, old school and still the best for streak-free shine. Why does it work? Vinegar cuts through residue, alcohol speeds up drying, and lemon oil adds a fresh scent. Simple, effective, and cheap. Scrubbing paste for tough jobs. Got a grimy sink or a bathtub that's seen better days? Try this. Half a cup of baking soda. A few tablespoons of water, just enough to make a paste. Optional, a squirt of dish soap for extra grease-cutting power. Spread the paste on the surface, let it sit for 10 minutes, then scrub with a sponge. Rinse well. Why does it work? Baking soda's grit lifts stains without scratching, and its alkaline nature neutralizes odors. Add dish soap, and you've got a double whammy against grease. Floor cleaner. 4 tile or vinyl floors mix. 1 gallon of warm water. Half a cup of white vinegar. A few drops of essential oil if you like. Mop as usual. No sticky residue, no harsh chemicals. The science behind it all. Now, children, let's talk science for a minute. Vinegar is acetic acid, about 5% in household vinegar. That acidity dissolves mineral deposits, soap scum, and dirt. Baking soda? Sodium bicarbonate. It's a mild base, which means it reacts with acids and helps neutralize odors. When you mix vinegar and baking soda, you get carbon dioxide bubbles. That fizzing action helps lift grime. But here's a tip, don't store them mixed together for long. The reaction uses up their cleaning power. Combine them right before use. Essential oils aren't just for smell, they have antimicrobial properties. Tea tree oil, for example, fights bacteria and mold. Lemon oil cuts grease. Lavender? It's calming, and who doesn't want a peaceful kitchen? Safety first. Now, Aunt Betty's no fool. Just because these are natural doesn't mean you can mix them willy-nilly. Never mix vinegar with bleach, unless you want a chemistry experiment that sends you to the ER. And keep your cleaners labeled. You don't want someone thinking your all-purpose spray is lemonade. So there you have it, children, recipes that work, backed by science and decades of practical know-how. In segment 3, we'll talk about advanced tips, how to store your cleaners, troubleshoot common problems, and even make specialty products for laundry and bathrooms. But before we move on, let me remind you, these aren't just recipes. They're a way of life. They save money, protect your health, and honor the wisdom of generations past. So, promise Aunt Betty you'll give them a try, and teach someone else when you do. Advanced tips, storage, troubleshooting and specialty cleaners. Well now, children, you've made it this far, and Aunt Betty couldn't be prouder. You've learned why DIY cleaning matters, you've got recipes under your belt, and now it's time to take things up a notch. This segment is all about making your cleaning routine smarter, safer, and more efficient. We'll talk about how to store your homemade cleaners, troubleshoot common problems, and even whip up some specialty products for those tricky spots in your home. Storing your homemade cleaners. First things first, storage. You can't just mix up a batch of cleaner and leave it sitting in any old container. Here's what you need to know. Use clean, airtight containers. Glass spray bottles are ideal for vinegar-based cleaners because vinegar can degrade certain plastics over time. Label everything. Write the name of the cleaner and the date you made it. Trust me, you don't want to mistake your glass cleaner for your all-purpose spray. Keep them out of direct sunlight. Essential oils and some ingredients lose their potency when exposed to light. Shelf life matters. Most DIY cleaners last about a month. If it smells off or looks strange, toss it and make a fresh batch. Troubleshooting common problems. Now, let's talk about what happens when things don't go as planned. Streaky windows? You might be using too much cleaner or wiping with a cloth that leaves lint. Switch to newspaper or a microfiber cloth. Residue on countertops. That's usually from too much baking soda. Rinse with plain water after cleaning. Strong vinegar smell? Add more essential oil or let the surface air out. The smell fades quickly, but if it bothers you, lemon oil is your best friend. Specialty cleaners. Now for the fun part. Specialty cleaners for those tough jobs. Laundry booster. Want fresher clothes without spending a fortune on fancy additives? Try this. Half a cup of baking soda. Add it to your wash cycle along with your regular detergent. It softens water, boosts cleaning power, and deodorizes. Bathroom mold spray. Bathrooms are notorious for mold. Here's Aunt Betty's solution. 1 cup of vinegar. 1 tablespoon of tea tree essential oil mix in a spray bottle, spritz on moldy spots, let sit for 30 minutes, then scrub. Tea tree oil is a natural antifungal powerhouse. Drain cleaner. Got a slow drain? Skip the harsh chemicals. Try this. Pour half a cup of baking soda down the drain. Follow with half a cup of vinegar. Let it fizz for 15 minutes, then flush with boiling water. It won't fix major clogs, but it's great for maintenance. Going beyond cleaning. Children, here's something to think about. DIY isn't just about saving money or avoiding chemicals. It's about reclaiming control. When you make your own products, you're saying, I don't need a corporation to tell me how to keep my home clean. You're tapping into generations of wisdom and making choices that matter, for your health, your family, and the planet. And let me tell you, there's a certain satisfaction in knowing you've got the skills to take care of your home without relying on overpriced bottles from the store. It's empowering. It's practical. And it's downright smart. Final thoughts. So, children, we've covered a lot today. From why DIY cleaning matters to recipes that work and advanced tips to keep you ahead of the game. Now it's your turn. Try these recipes. Share them with friends. Teach your kids. Because this isn't just about cleaning, it's about building a life that's healthier, simpler, and more sustainable. And remember Aunt Betty's rule, if you learn something, you teach someone. That's how we keep these traditions alive. Well, that's all I have for you today. Go out in the sunshine, have some fun, and come back soon to Aunt Betty's Attic. And if you don't watch it, you might just learn something. Bye now.